All right, guys. Our next guest is finally getting his long overdue title shot as he takes on Sean Strickland at UFC 297 in January, coming off his spectacular win over Robert Whittaker at UFC 290 and riding an impressive 8-fight win streak. Still Knox himself, repping the t-shirt. Dricus Du Plessis, welcome back, man. How are you?
Hey, man. Great, man. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Well, I was going to say, man, we're happy to have you on the show. Before we get into it, right, I got to talk about the big video, the World Cup. You know, you guys did it. South Africa was able to win it. I want to know, dude, what was your reaction when you saw the video? I think Djokovic was looking at you funny. We had Taika. He wasn't too happy. Obviously, he was going for New Zealand. What was your reaction when you saw the video of them sort of being a little bit upset in the moment as you were celebrating?
Actually, so obviously we were there for a Rugby World Cup, and there's one way South Africa to do it, and that's a lot of beer. And obviously winning the World Cup, there was a lot of celebrations happening. So we woke up the next morning, and I obviously felt, damn. And my friend just said, hey, listen, man, you're viral again. And I said, what do you mean? And I immediately got this feeling of, oh, shit. What did we do? What happened? What do you mean? What do you mean? What did we do? Like, And I checked the video. I'm like, this is great. And I'm like, why am I on camera? Why is the camera? What did they think was going to happen? It's a rugby game. But no, I mean, it was pretty cool to see. And, you know, obviously, you know, I didn't know because it was like, I think it was like a presidential box that we were in, which is such a cool experience. South Africa's president was in the same box, and apparently in that box, you're not really supposed to be celebrating the way we did, but
What did you think the video was? Were you like Bradley Cooper in The Hangover, where you're just on the phone in the middle of somewhere, you're like, oh, we fucked up?
Yeah, exactly that. I just thought, okay, well, my friend who also played professional rugby, he just sent me just these laugh emojis, and he said it was the funniest thing seeing me in that box, because one of the, like, everybody knows ethics wise, you're not really supposed to be like going crazy. You're supposed to like clap in that box. And I'm like, that's bullshit. That's not the way I watch rugby, especially not a World Cup final. But I mean, it was an incredible moment, and was one of the coolest memories of my life. You know, being there, seeing the Springboks win the World Cup in such a close game, and the atmosphere in the stadium was absolutely undescribable. And even though, you know, I was in between a whole lot of New Zealand supporters, you know, it was all good competition. Everybody was having just a spectacular time. You know, there has to be winners and losers, but it was all in good faith and in good sportsmanship at the end of the day.
I love how Taika gave you the thumbs up, even though New Zealand lost. He still gave you the thumbs up. I gotta ask, man. By the way, I saw you said that was like one of the greatest moments of your life, right? You're gonna talk about it forever, but I want to know, in that point in the game, because this was late in the game. For those that didn't watch it, this was towards the end. It was on the wire game where it was any team was going to win it. How many beers deep in do you think you were in that moment as you were watching it?
That's an interesting question, because you see, I didn't really party before the game, because I had an interview to do before the game, just when we got to the stadium. So obviously I wasn't having any beers, but once we got there and the vibe started going, I would say easily up to 10.
Nice.
Nice.
I feel
it.
You go.
You're nervous, just watching, just drinking. You're not thinking about it. Just taking and drinking and watching the game. But I mean, it was incredible.
I'm a fast drinker as well. Sometimes it's like it's in your hand, then it's gone. I might even grab a beer like halfway through this interview just to make things a little bit fun. I feel you about like the no cheering, because like MMA media, if you're cage side, even if you're in the back, you're not allowed to express any emotion. And it's hard, man. A sport like MMA sometimes to just sit there and can't clap, can't do anything. It's
I just, you know, I'm a very passionate sports watcher. I'm a very passionate sports person. So for me, if they told me that before, and I would have probably said, maybe get me in another box, not that one. Because
the presidential box. I love it. All right, man. I gotta say, dude, congratulations. After all the delays, it's finally official. You'll be fighting for the belt in less than 2 months. I mean, that's got to feel pretty good, right? How's it feel that it's official and it's not that long away now?
Oh man, it feels. You know, there was a part of me, because everybody thought like we were hiding this. That wasn't the case at all. I literally found out a night before the world found out that this fight's happening. Or that I actually found out with the rest of the world when the announcement came that this fight's happening. I spoke with Hunter. He phoned me and said, will I be ready in January? And I said, yes, I'll be ready for Jan. And he said, nothing is sure yet. He's going to talk to Dana and see what's up, and they'll let me know. And next day I woke up and they made the announcement. So for me, it was just as a big surprise as everybody else. I literally found out a day before. So, it almost felt, I always had this feeling. I had this feeling the whole time. I wasn't even, maybe it was because I already made up my mind in terms of, like I said, I'm not going to beg for a title shot. If they don't want to give me a title shot, cool. I'll just beat another top 5 guy, and that's going to make my move up to 205 easier. So I was in a space where I already made peace with the fact that if they don't want to give me a title shot, great. Give me who's my next opponent. That's where my mind was at. And when that shot came, with how things worked out with Khamzat and Usman, and the whole 360 we went, it just felt great. It felt like things were right and things were supposed to happen like that. And this is my opportunity, and I can't wait to make it count. I can't wait to become champion of the world.
It's a fascinating turn of events, right? Because when you and Rob were initially announced, a big part of the story was like really 9 weeks later, the winner fights again 9 weeks later. And everyone was like, man, unless they come out perfectly unscathed, like it's unlikely to happen. And then of course, Dana went on and, fast forward and Sean won. And then Khamzat and Usman were going to fight for the next title shot. And people were like, I don't know about the winner getting the next title shot. And then of course, as things would play out, Khamzat, injured, he's got the injury. And so you're back in there. So it's almost like everything was right. But what I'm curious about is there's this notion that like the UFC was upset at you for not taking the fight at UFC 293, even though you had a broken foot. Was there any truth to that? Were they ever like annoyed with you, or was there anything like that going on?
I mean, I spoke with the UFC. I spoke with Hunter directly, and there was never, I never felt that they were angry with me at all. I just thought that it was an inconvenience for them. Dana said himself, I think maybe I pissed him off a little, but in the brighter scheme of things, it wasn't. I don't think it's a personal thing. I don't think he's holding a grudge against me. I don't think the UFC has a grudge against me. I just think that they had this perfect plan. I think the fact that I beat Whittaker already threw the game plan off.
Yeah.
Why would you let me fight in Australia? Me and Easy, we're not Australian. And I think that was already a spanner in the works, but no, they were happy with that. A new contender just emerged, the only guy that can beat Robert Whittaker, who's not Israel Adesanya. So that was a good thing for them. And for me, it was such a massive opportunity, such a massive fight. Did they think I wouldn't want to take that fight? No. Did they really think that I don't think the UFC thought that. I mean, for me, I just beat Whittaker. I just finished him fairly easily. So I don't see why, the fact that people said Dricus didn't really want the Adesanya fight. Why wouldn't I want the Adesanya fight? That's why I'm working. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken the Whittaker fight to start with. But, it was to be injured. I injured my foot, severely injured my foot. It was 18 days before the Whittaker fight.
Oh, wow.
The day before, it was my last session in South Africa before I got on the plane. And I mean, I couldn't walk. I could not walk on my foot. I went to doctor and said, listen, we need to make this thing work just so I can get to the airport and not, because in South Africa, like, I'm going to take photos when I'm at the airport. People are going to ask me photos. I can't be walking with a brace on or be limping on my way to my phone, right? And even to the States. So it was and a lot of people saying, oh, he wasn't really injured. I just said, cool. Firstly, there's records. Secondly, if you go to the UFC PI staff, and I guess there's cameras and on record, that is the only thing I worked on the whole time I was at the PI was my foot. Every single day I was at the physio and at the PT working on this foot. And so, I mean, I'm not actually trying to convince anybody because the facts are there. But, everything always happens the way it should. The universe, the big man upstairs, he always looks after me. And I was never in any doubt that I'm going to get what I deserve. And what I deserved was the title shot.
So it was a broken foot, right?
It wasn't broke. I had a fracture in my foot and a tear in a ligament.
Yeah, that dude, this is crazy, right? Because most fighters wouldn't be able to fight with that. You did what you could to get to the fight, and then you put on that incredible finish. I got to ask, like, what did you learn about yourself from overcoming that adversity, going into the fight with that foot, dealing with all the stress, and then overcoming it and beating one of the best middleweights to ever do it in the UFC in that fashion? What did you learn about yourself?
Well, the biggest thing is why this decision was made is there was no thought in my mind, not once, where I said, "Oh, I'm not going to fight Whittaker." The important thing, what I try to tell people is, if they say, "Why, if you could fight Whittaker like that, you could afford Adesanya like that?" No. The reason is 17, 18 days before the fight, when this happened, I was already fit. I was already, through a whole camp. Everything was taken care of. Just over 2 weeks now to, try and figure this out and just stay sharp and peak, in terms of cardio. So all the hard work was done. I didn't kick with my leg once, not even in the warm-up. The first time I kicked with that leg in 3 weeks was on fight night. And you'll see in the fight, that was the first thing I did, is I kicked him with that exact foot. The first strike of the fight was me kicking him in the leg with that exact foot, because I had to bridge that mental gap immediately.
Yeah.
I'd say, listen, the adrenaline is here. That's one thing that people don't realize. If I get into the fight, the adrenaline takes over. I don't feel shit. I don't care. I'll rip it off and beat my opponent with it. It's about being underprepared. So for a whole camp, to start your camp injured, that's a problem. Because now I'm going into the fight unprepared. We're going injured into the fight. It's one thing. It's there's adrenaline, there's mental toughness to fight it, but to be injured for a whole camp and not being able to train properly for the biggest fight of your life, I don't think that's a smart move, and that's why we didn't take that fight. But that's the game, and here we are. Everything worked out the way it should, and this is absolutely amazing.
I mean, kudos to you, because we haven't had a chance to speak for a while, but it was a phenomenal performance, and obviously, like, going through the adversity is like massively commendable. How satisfying was it for you to essentially, like, overnight go from a guy that a lot of people just thought, man, Rob's going to win, it's going to be Rob and Israel in Sydney, and it went from sort of that narrative to, like, holy shit, this is a guy that can challenge, any champion, whether it was, say, Israel at that time or even like now a Sean Strickland. How satisfying was it to sort of finally get you kudos?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been involved in this sport. I've dedicated my life to this sport for almost 14 years, since I was 15 years old, professionally now for just over 10 years. And, to go out there and beat a guy like Robert Whittaker is in a career, even though that is not my end destination, that's not the highest peak for me. That is for where I am right now. That was the biggest moment of my career. And, all the hard work paid off. All the hard work up until that night has paid off. And it felt great, because I always felt, since I started the UFC, I had my first 2 fights. I got these quick knockouts. And then I had the Brad Tavares fight, which really gave me some ring time, some octagon time. Because no matter who you are, once you go from any other league to the UFC, it's completely different. And it wasn't the fact that I was anxious or anything like that. It was just finding my feet in the UFC, because I was just fighting, and jumping the rankings quickly. And next moment I'm fighting Darren Till, number 10, number 13, then number 10, then number 5, and then number 1. This all happened within a year. And it was just me, mentally, I always feel great. Mentally, I feel I'm unbeatable. And it was just about going out there and putting on the performance that I know I can put on. Every fight up until then, obviously we had the nose thing. That's not an excuse, never was. But it played a role. I changed conditioning coaches just in terms of how, we learn in this game, whether we win or lose. We're there to learn, and every fight to try to be better. And before the Whittaker fight, I started with a new conditioning program with a new coach, and with a completely different outlook on the whole under conditioning of fighting. And that played such a big role. I mean, and it was so clear that I was a completely different fighter against Robert Whittaker than I was against any other guy in terms of just the cardio. And it was hard to explain to people that, even though I looked so tired, because I was tired in the previous fights, it wasn't a lack of working or lack of cardio. It was, you have coaches and you have people to tell you what to do, and they're a lot smarter than me. So I do what they tell me. And, we were doing a couple of things wrong, but we learned from those mistakes and we got it right in the Whittaker fight. We did everything we possibly could to fix every single problem. And, that was the closest I've gotten to fighting the way, and since being in the UFC, the way that I think I can. Maybe I would give myself a 7 out of 10 for that performance. Because there was a lot of things that I still did wrong, and a lot of things that I still have to prove that I know I can do much better. And every time I get in there, I'm going to be better. And obviously against a guy like Sean Strickland, I said this with Whittaker as well. I have to be perfect in order to beat Whittaker, and I was perfect enough to beat him. But for this fight, I'm stepping it up stepping up and being even more perfect and coming in there more prepared and making sure that every single thing I do will be perfect. There is no room for error if you're fighting for a world title. There is no room for error at the top of the sport, because one mistake can cost you a fight, and I won't let that happen.
I love how you're talking about the Whittaker fight, but at the same time, we know you had that fracture in your foot, and it's like, what does Dricus look like when he doesn't have to deal with this foot thing for a few weeks out of the fight with the new conditioning that you've got? So I think fans are excited to see it. I got to ask you though, what was your reaction to UFC 293 and the way it played out? Because you and Israel, obviously, there's this whole angle built up and everybody, thought you guys would be fighting each other next. What was it like for you when you watched UFC 293 and you had to kind of shift your mental game and focus onto Sean Strickland and away from this Israel storyline and narrative and sort of build up that was sort of going to be the next thing for you if he had won?
Yeah, I think firstly, watching that fight, I sat like this.
You were shocked, like everyone, right?
It was, dude. We were there live. It was like it was an eerie night. Like it was like people, yeah.
So weird. I woke up because it was like 4 or 5 a.m. in South Africa. I woke up and I sat there, and as Izzy walked out in red shorts, I just thought, this is weird. And his whole demeanor, how he walked out, I said it somewhere else as well. I get obsessed when I'm going to fight someone, but I'm not somebody who's set on fighting Izzy. I'm there to become a champion, just to get it away. But I knew that Izzy was going to be the next fight. I'm going to fight him for the title. So I became obsessed. I go watch his interviews. I go watch the way he walks, looking for any crinks in his armor, and I will find some. From the way he fights to the way he walks out, the way he conducts himself. And he was, even when we faced off, he was busy slipping. He slipped for the first time when he got into the ring that night on fight night with me and Whittaker. And with that fight, when he fought Strickland, the way he walked out, the way he carried himself, I remember thinking, this is something that me studying him up until now, this is something completely different. I haven't seen this. I don't know what he's doing. What's his angle? And his angle was, I don't know, it didn't work. But I looked at him in the first round. I thought, is he baiting Strickland? What's he doing? Because it was clearly that Strickland was just piecing him apart. And I thought, what is his angle here? Is he going to try and take Strickland down? Because he was on the back foot making Strickland come forward. So I was like, is he going to try to get a takedown maybe? What is he doing? And he just never switched on. He never switched on in that fight. And, Strickland did absolutely incredible to realize that Israel Adesanya can't shoot. I mean, in any coach and anybody who watched that fight would say, shoot, just take him down or at least try. I mean, he was up against the fence getting just outpointed the whole fight, and he didn't try to take the fight down once because he doesn't have that ability. And that's the problem you have with a one-dimensional fighter who's so good in one area of the game, who's brilliant in one area. And I think that was a good learning curve for Israel Adesanya, and a great night for Sean Strickland, because we can say what we want about how badly Adesanya fought that night, but it's still Israel Adesanya, and Strickland on short notice showed up, and he showed that he has the BMT, and when it mattered, he showed up, and that's the important part. being there on your best or worst night, being able to pull it through. And Sean Strickland made it look fairly easy.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like Sean Strickland, it was an incredible performance by him. And it was like a Sean Strickland that a lot of people would say, Sean's great fighter, exciting fighter, but he often just kind of does his own thing in the fight. He's not known for sticking to game plans. And like the game plan that Coach Eric Nixick put together, like Sean Strickland executed it perfectly. It was just, it was an incredible night, a very shocking night, but it was just incredible. And Sean obviously did phenomenally. Even though you were focused on Israel in that fight, or maybe you weren't, I'm wondering, were you able to sort of take things from Sean's performance and find the chinks in the armor from his win, even though it was so dominant?
Yeah. I mean, there was Sean Strickland to find. There's so much wrong with how he fights. So many people can say that about me too. There's so much wrong with how we do it and how I do it, but it works. And with Sean, it's the same thing. There's so many things he does wrong, but there's so many things he does right. And, at the end of the day, it's going to be one of those fights between me and him where imposing your will. It's going to be imposing your will and making sure that's what I see. I see we're going to go there and he's going to try and do what he does. And I know you said a game plan that is coached for Izzy. I don't see a game plan. That's no other game plan than every other Sean Strickland fight we've ever seen. He always fights like that. So, I didn't see it. It was great. Sean Strickland did what Sean Strickland does against Israel Adesanya, and it worked for him, and that's great. Styles do make fights, so it worked for him. But I have my style of fighting. He has his style of fighting, and in our fight, it's going to be the guy who imposes his will and fights his fight the best. That's going to be the winner, and that's going to be me.
Well, yeah, because I was going to ask, like, what you see as his biggest challenge to you, like the biggest thing that you're going to have to overcome, and also, like, what do you think it is that people get so wrong about Sean? It just seems like I've heard other fighters talk about, like, he has either an annoying style or like a tricky style, and it's almost like a lot of people sort of get caught off guard, or maybe there's things they underestimate until they're in there with him, and then sometimes it ends up being too late. Like, what do you think it is about his style that kind of catches people off guard?
I think what he does, his defense is ugly. His defense is very weird, but it's effective. I think he deflects shots beautifully, and I think irritating is a good style. Like, I mean, it's just like always pushing something out there, and it's such a different style. Yes, I don't think he has that crazy knockout power, but he does have quantities. And if you're fighting on his pace, I promise you are going to lose that fight. If you're going to fight his pace, and Israel Adesanya fought his pace, because he walks forward. He makes people tentative sometimes because he's like slipping punches all the time. So with that being said, I don't think to fight his pace is a smart move. I think if you're going to fight, well, I mean, I know I'm more athletic. I know I'm stronger physically, and using that to my advantage, making sure I hit harder, but making sure that every shot I throw lands, making sure I land those punches. And I'm not just standing there in the pocket throwing with him, because that's his fight style. That's his style. Making sure that I'm fighting a smart fight, and that whatever I throw, like I said, I need one shot. I need to land one shot. If Pereira could knock him out, I can knock him out even better.
Stylistically, out of Sean and Israel, Dricus, for you, who do you think is the toughest stylistic matchup?
I think it's going to be the easy fight is a fight where I honestly believe that I would have grabbed him and I would have manhandled him, to be honest. I think I would have gotten even in a clinch. I know he has good takedown defense, but I don't think people understand the difference between myself and Israel Adesanya. If I would have grabbed him, it would have been a very long night. Well, no, it wouldn't have been a long night. I take that back. But obviously his striking is good. I don't think there's no way Israel Adesanya knocks me out. I don't think that. But he is going to be fighting in a way where he's catching, throwing 1-2s, and he's moving and moving. So I think it would have been up to me to make the fight entertaining, because for him it wouldn't have mattered. He would have fought the way he fights, play it safe, stay away from me. So I think in terms of for a fan and entertainment value, I think this Sean Strickland fight is going to be, because that's one thing I have to give to Sean Strickland. The man is not scared. He's a real man. He's a man that goes out there and he wants to fight. He doesn't get hit and then he backs off and gets scared. It doesn't happen. He's a guy who's going to go out on a shield, and we've all seen me fight. That's the only way I fight. I go out there to win or die trying. And that's one thing I can say from Sean Strickland. He goes out there and he wants to fight. So, I have a lot of respect for him as a fighter, even as a person. There's no bad blood for me between me and Sean Strickland. I think it's an incredible fight. I think fans are going to love it. And, I'm going to be very surprised if this is not a fight of the year contender.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly like why people are excited about this fight, and that's exactly how they sort of envision it, this one, when they picture it. Speaking of fights of the year, don't let the biggest fight of the year between you versus your balls versus your rusty old razor in a triple threat from hell match. Let our good friends from Manscaped help you out. And guess what? The holidays have come early. Let your balls jingle this season with Manscaped's brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the new Lawnmower 5.0 5th generation. Watch all your wishes and mistletoe kisses come true this year. Included in this special sack as a Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, Manscaped's liquid formulations, and 2 free gifts. The Lawnmower 5.0, of course, the 5th generation trimmer, features 2 next-gen blade heads, a standard trimmer blade for taking a little bit off the top, and then a new foil blade to go for that ultra smooth finish wherever your heart desires. You will have balls as smooth as eggshells. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Body Trimmer and the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence. Plus, both are waterproof, so there's no issue clearing the snow out of the driveway. And there's a whole bunch of liquid formulations so you don't smell like a reindeer. Perfect gift for yourself or anyone you love. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. It's the ultimate gift. Get it today. Use code word submission for free shipping and 20% off now.
That's right. We're getting all jazzed up for UFC 297 in January. But this weekend, we've obviously got Fight Night. We've got Beneil Dariush, Beneil the Real Deal, taking on Arman Tsarukyan. And you probably want to know what's the best venue to go check it out and watch the fights for free. Our good friends at Fanzo have you covered. Fanzo, the #1 venue finder in the world. Get their free app, boot it up. It'll tell you all the best venues in your location. Let's say I'm looking at the Dandenong Club. I scroll down, I see there's 20 screens, commentary, serves food, Wi-Fi, garden, projector, outdoor screen. Tick, tick, tick on all the boxes. You don't want to go to a venue and then you realize they don't have the commentary, or they don't have Wi-Fi, or maybe they don't have food. Fanzo, the #1 venue finder to keep you happy. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. Main card starts at 11 a.m. Melbourne time. Jump on it and find the perfect venue with Fanzo. Click the link in the description below.
But Dricus, just go back to you. You were saying how Sean is a man with no fear. And yeah, Sean's definitely not scared. Did you see the video recently where like some dude stumbled onto his driveway near his car? Sean pulls the gun out. You just see him like marching down the hallway. Did you see that?
That's the most normal thing in the world.
Yeah.
I'm from South Africa.
I just watched that and I was like, oh yeah, another day.
Yeah, for me, I was like, oh, cool. I mean, that happens like weekly over here.
Does it really?
Well, man, go search on the internet and you'll see.
You got to give us like one story. Well, I feel like almost you'd have more of these stories than Sean at this point. And like we don't know a ton about South Africa. I used to have a housemate that was South African, but you got to tell us like one story just to like paint a picture here.
Well, in terms of like break-in stories and stuff.
Have you ever had to fend anyone off or anything like that?
Yes, I have. But I mean, that was a mugger trying his luck. I was quite a bit younger, but I mean, just my own house growing up, it's been broken into maybe 6 times, 5, 6 times.
Holy shit.
Ooh. Talking about the TV is gone, radio's gone, phones are gone, stolen right next to your bed. No, listen, the South African criminals aren't getting caught. These guys are smart. They are, like we would say, if you would look at somebody that is a specialist, if you look at a guy like, what can I say, a Gilbert Burns, for example, so he's a specialist. Our thieves will kick the American thieves' ass.
don't forget about the Australian thieves, convict country, I'm just saying.
If there's the Olympics for breaking, people stealing stuff, I promise you South African thieves wins it any day of the week.
Do they?
They are too smart. Not too smart.
There should be Olympic Games for thieves. That'd be awesome. Hosted by George Clooney and Brad Pitt, the annual Ocean's 11 medal winners. But
just us that South Africa can beat New Zealand in another sport.
Just quickly, we won't hold up your whole night, Dricus. But just what's the story? What was the one time where you actually got to fend off like a robber? Because I feel like that's the worst thing. If you come home and all your shit's stolen, you never know who, you never know what happened, you never get that closure. Did you ever get that closure? Like you caught the person?
No. Like the times that they stole everything, no. When you wake up, like I said, they are really good. So you wake up, you get into your house, and they are just like, everything's gone. I'm like, what? Looks like you moved without you knowing. But we've been a couple of friends, and we walked after a night out, and these guys, they come. So that what they do is they walk in like a big group. And they'll just walk past, and they'll be begging and asking for something. You're like, no, get away, and they walk, and then they'll be walking like right next to you, and they're really good at looking at your watch or looking at your phone, your pockets. But I mean, we as South Africans, we know if you're walking in a street at night and this is happening, you just you check yourself. And these guys, all of a sudden, you just feel one guy pulling you this way, like on your shirt, like hey, and as you look there, the other one's on your hand, and. As I looked away to this one guy, and I immediately started seeing what was happening because I had a nice watch on. And as this guy pulled me this way, I knew this one was going to do something. And it almost immediately, as he touched me, it was like a, Baba! And luckily for us, like we were also like 4 or 5 guys, and they just started bolting, getting out of there. It was interesting because the target's usually not, if you look at me, why would I try and fight me?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the smaller guys, and that's what happens. I'm talking about my dad. He's been in a carjacking where they actually shot at him. It's crazy. It's a wild west out here.
Whoa, man, that's insane, dude. Well, I'll tell you what. Make sure you don't wear any really nice watches leading into this fight because we need to make sure the Sean Strickland fight happens without any injuries or any issues. Everybody leave Dricus alone on the streets of South Africa. We need this fight to happen. Hey, dude, I was gonna say.
Definitely, like if you have a really nice watch, you don't even drive it. If you're going out, like if you're going to a meeting or whatever, you put it in your pocket, drive there, and you put it on before you go in. There's no way you drive in traffic with a nice watch. No ways.
Fuck.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, the whole time.
I was gonna say me and Casper would love to visit you in South Africa, but and then again, we don't have any nice watches, so we should be fine. We only do an MMA podcast.
So, like, I mean, it's. I just told you like all the bad stuff. This is the best place living here. This is amazing. I love South Africa, and this is all the bad stuff. And even though we have all this bad stuff, South Africa is the most beautiful place, the coolest people, and man, it's just the best place in the world.
And you guys won the World Cup. Hey, just quickly, I know obviously for people that don't know, KSW double champ. You're on the road to becoming the UFC middleweight champion, but you said something at the start of this interview that caught my interest. You said 205. How it's going to make your journey to 205 a little bit quicker if you had to fight somebody else before fighting for the title. Talk to me a little bit about your plans here. If you do win the title, how long would you like to stick around at middleweight before you move up to 205?
Yeah, that all depends on how the division opens up. It's I would still love to fight Israel Adesanya 100%. It would be my first choice as a defense to fight Israel. It'll be great. But I'm assuming Khamzat's the guy they're going to try and push. So, that'll be cool. I do want to defend my belt. I do want to defend the belt before, obviously it's all going to come down to who I beat and how good I make it look. If I go out there and I absolutely destroy Khamzat, what's there really left? If I go out there and I beat Israel Adesanya after becoming champion, he's wiped out the whole division. The 2 guys who wiped out the division was Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya. And beating those 2 guys doesn't really leave any room left. So, but that's I'm a big guy. I can definitely hang with the guys at 205. I'll be giving up a little bit of reach, but in terms of strength and power and size, I'm right there. But that's talking down the line. For now, I have one goal. One goal only is that's Sean Strickland. And after that will be the goal will shift to on whatever happens next. Of course, I want that double champ status. Everybody does. I think that's the that's almost became a norm. It's getting that status as a double champ, and I definitely also want that. I want to be in that 1% of the 1%.
Awesome, man. Yeah, your run reminds us of like Robert Whittaker when he came up. Like before he won the belt, he kind of took out a lot of the contenders already. And you're right, like Israel, Khamzat, those are like the massive fights. There's Jared Cannonier as well, obviously like a long-time contender. We'll end on this, Dricus, because you kind of already laid out how you see the fight going. I wonder, like, what will it mean to you, man, to become the middleweight champion finally? I know that like the system from your gym is something that you guys want to kind of like show off. So what will it mean for you to if all goes well, beat Sean Strickland and become the UFC middleweight champion?
Man, I'm getting goosebumps just you asking that question. I mean, for me, it's so much bigger than just for me. It's this team, this coaches, everything. My whole career has been with the same team, same coach. And for my country, the support I get in South Africa is absolutely insane. You wouldn't believe it. It's unbelievable. I would really compare it to what the Springboks get. It's unbelievable. So these people, when I go out there, people are going to go crazy. And I owe it to my country, I owe it to my team, I owe it to my coach, my parents, my friends, the people who's always believed in it. I'm talking about for the past 14 years. And to be able to get out there and bring that belt home and show that South Africa is not only on the map, we are leading the way in MMA in the world right now, would be the most incredible feeling in the world. And I can't wait to feel that. I can already feel it inside me. It's going to be I can just feel already how it's going to feel when I raise that belt. It's going to be incredible.
Dude, well, we're so happy for you, man. We're so happy that you're getting your well-earned shot and can't wait to see the fight. Guys, make sure to follow Dricus on socials at Dricus Du Plessis, of course, on Instagram to follow his journey. And who knows, man, big things coming for you next year. Obviously, the title shot, but if things go your way, some big cards coming up. Maybe this Israel fight at UFC 300, who knows? But a lot of big things happening. Thank you so much for joining us, man. No nice watches on the street until after the title fight, please.
Watches on the street.
Thanks so much, Dricus. Appreciate it, man. Lots of love and best of luck.
You're a legend, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.